Here's a question that leads us into our next avenue of exploration. And that question is, where are we when we no longer have to be in the here and now? When we no longer have to use our energy to be constantly present, focused, and attentive. And there's an old story that has the possibility of answering this question for us, in a way. And it's that story of the village woman who herself loved cultural pursuits, and she was interested in the esoteric and the arcane, and she would often try to draw her husband into these pursuits, but he was a practical man, a man of the land, and he wasn't interested in any of this. But it so happened that every year a troupe came by their village to reenact the great story of the Ramayana. Now, when this troupe came to town on a certain occasion, the wife convinced her husband that he should go and participate in this performance. So reluctantly, after a hard day's work in the fields, he went off to the performance. He sat right at the back of the stage area and promptly went to sleep. And the performance went on, but it was the custom after the performance took place that sweets were handed around. So when the performance was over and they came round distributing the sweets and they saw him fast asleep with his mouth open, they just popped a sweet into it. So when he got home and his wife asked him, well, how was the performance? He said, well, it was rather sweet. And she said, well, yes, that can be said of the Ramayana. And so the next night she insisted that he go again to the performance, and again he sat at the back and promptly went to sleep. But a young boy came by and saw him fast asleep, so climbed on his neck because this was a good vantage point for him to see the performance. So he had a good time watching the epic. And when he got home to his wife, and his wife asked him, well, how was the performance? And he said, well, it got heavier as the night went on. And so the next night his wife again insisted that he go to the performance, and he went, but he was very tired after his hard day of work in the field, so this time he lay down in the aisle and went fast asleep as the performance was going on. So a little dog came by and saw his open mouth when he was snoring, so pissed a little bit in it. And when he got home to his wife asked him how the performance was. Well, he said, well, it was really quite salty. So his wife kind of smelt a rat at this stage, and there was something not quite right here. So she questioned him carefully, and he had to admit that he'd gone fast asleep during each of the performances. So his wife said, well, I'm coming with you tonight, and I'm going to make sure that you're wide awake. So she took his hand, and they sat right down in the front of the stage while this great epic was being enacted. And as the performance went on, the husband became more and more rapt and enthralled at this great story. And just at the moment when the monkey god Hanuman was flying over the ocean with the ring in his mouth that was going to save the queen, and it fell out of his mouth into the ocean. The husband jumped up and said, "I'll get it for you, Hanuman." And he dived into the ocean and retrieved the ring and handed it to Hanuman. Well, of course, all in the audience were totally amazed at this, and from that time on, he became quite a noted man around town, you might say. So what does this story, how does this story answer this question for us? Where are we when we no longer have to use our energy to be present, to stay in the now? What happens? How does this story answer this question for us? What's your experience?